What does dissociation look like? Anxiety. I am sharing my story. I was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder when I was 27. I worked through my trauma for years. After 5 years of working and listening to each of my parts and their trauma and what memories they held away from me, after I listened to them, after I went from hating myself, a lot of self loathing. After I hated myself for so long, I learned to actually love each individual part of me, each part that held a different trauma, each part in their different personalities. Some were younger, some were older. Um, yeah, I learned to love them. And in loving them and embracing them and accepting them as myself, healing happened. I was able to communicate with them, and there was still anxiety. You walk outside your door and you're out in the world, and anything can happen in the world. I know my mindset was very much the world was out to get me. I was in danger. I had to change all of that perspective, and it took time and it took people in my life showing me that things were different. That's what disassociation looked like for me. When I would be triggered, when there was a trauma, I would flip into another part who could handle it, or who was just triggered out and needed to tell their story on why they were freaked out. And with time, things changed. It got a little easier. Matter of fact, I was still divided when I had learned to trust some friends of mine. It had been over a year or two that I had worked with them. One of them knew I had the diagnosis, and I went on a cruise with them. I went on a boat far away without phones to call my counselor. That's how much of a friendship I had with Jen, and I had built that up. And I was able to traverse the cruise. When things got triggered, I could talk to her about them. I could talk to my parts. They trusted me now. And it was a changing, learning, growing process. But new places always cause anxiety and fear. And it was just learning to find new ways to function with them. And I am 20 years on the other side of being blended and integrated and whole. And that doesn't always happen. And I didn't even look for that. It was not something I tried to make happen. That's a story for later. If you continue watching my stories, you'll hear about it. But basically, disassociation looks different on every single person. Anybody looks different when they're angry, when they're scared. I don't care if you have this dissociation disorder. Like, everyone dissociates. You drive to work and you get there and don't remember the drive there because you were daydreaming about something else that happened. You dissociated on a smaller scale. But those that have dissociative identity disorder, they're farther along in the scale, and there are separate individual parts. But it's a journey. On this side of things, I can look back and go, it is a gift. It is a gift that helped me survive till I was ready to hear the stories. I don't know how life would have been if I would have known all of the trauma that they held on to. So, yeah, looking back in hindsight, I look at it as a gift. It doesn't feel like a gift. It feels very crazy. It feels very disorienting. It feels very difficult to be in the midst of that. But I'm glad I'm sharing my story. If any of you have any more questions, I would be glad to share my story. I know everyone has a different story and everyone deals with their trauma differently. And my one advice is, if you are going through this, keep at it. Don't stop. Keep looking for those people that can be your support and be your help. Keep looking for a counselor who will be there and be there to listen. Just don't give up. And that's what it was like a little bit for me working through my dissociation. So thanks for listening. There's so much more to tell.